Yeah, sorry.
Whoa, this ain't going.
Be down the side. And
But I appreciate everybody on the chat tonight for your comments. Well, hello, beekeeper friends. It's good to have the people that are on here tonight, and we shall pick people up as we go along. Welcome to the Bee Connection, and I hope everybody's had a busy week in their bee yards. I know that I have. Man, where to start? It is definitely a busy season already. So, again, good to have everybody on here tonight with us so far. So for me, we had a wedding for my nephew, and that was on Saturday and Sunday. And then on Sunday was just a rough day. We came back, and as you can see from the picture on the live stream here, got to come and see Keith. He had a couple of our hives that he took care of us for getting it started. I was going to do some queen rearing early. And he basically brought these two swarms that overwintered back to life. We had 52 colonies, and we had gotten all the way down to about 14. So he nursed two of those back to life. Actually, I'll be honest, one of them was dead when I took it down there. I felt so bad. He's probably like, Rick's such a bad beekeeper, but nah, I'm sure he didn't say that. But things happened. I was nursing those two little colonies along. They were very weak coming through winter. So, but anyway, so I stopped in at Keith's place. I picked up the two hives, and man, he had them boosted up. They were in, I brought them down in deeps, and he had already put a medium on top of them, and they was bringing in some resources. So both colonies looked really good. Got to bring them home on Sunday, and at the same time on Sunday, all my grafts that I had done were ready to pop in the colonies. I was supposed to be at home a little early on Sunday and to make all these splits. So with the grafting that I did, I had 48 grafts to take. So I had a lot of splits to make. I made 21 splits and popped in the sales, and I actually sold 3 queens to some of the people up here in the mountains. So I dropped those off after I got all the splits done, and then I moved over into helping another lady out. She had caught a swarm, and she asked me if I wanted it, and I said sure. Right now I'm just trying to boost my stock up, and so I went over to her place, and as we was there, she had 2 new colonies. She had one colony that was kind of failing a little bit. I believe they had swarmed out or maybe superseded the original queen. That queen looked pretty new, and she was laying fairly decent. So, and she had done a treatment also on that colony. Said she hadn't treated it in over a year. So I really think that helped that colony out by doing that treatment. And they looked really, really good. So she had also caught another swarm, and I checked it out. And apparently she didn't get the queen when she got that swarm, and they had went laying worker on her. So we moved the colony, shook those bees out. They went into one of her other colonies that was sitting there. And she was pretty amazed that the bees, as these this other colony was trying to come in, they were killing some of the bees that were coming into those colonies. And that happens a lot of times just because of the fact that the bees are killing those laying workers off. So anyway, so what she was pretty interested in that, and then I took the nuke that I had, and I had brought her a queen over also, and we dropped we did a split for her. We dropped this new queen in it, and then the other swarm that she had caught, not the weak one that went laying worker, but another swarm. We took it and I moved it, and we put a frame of brood with this new queen, and we let all the resources from this swarm go into her colony. So she was tickled to death with it. Said that it had released and done pretty good. So anyway, so man, I was so exhausted. And then had another friend that had bought a nuke, and I went over to his house, and I dropped that hive into a 10 frame, and it looked pretty good. And I was ready to come home, and me and Keith was talking on the phone. It's like, man, the Sunday's been rough, and he was talking about how he I think he was helping somebody out with some of the same things that I was. So definitely a interesting Sunday. Now that it's see, what day was that? Let me think. Friday. No, it wasn't Friday. It was Wednesday. No, Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. I checked out the cells that I had dropped in all those colonies, and out of the 21 that I did, I actually ended up with 19 hatching out. So very tickled with that number. And the leftover queen cells that I said I'd done 48 and I only put in 21. I'd actually give those to a friend, and I think he said that most of his had hatched out also. So that feels pretty good to have, not only to graft 48, but also to be able to put them in, and out of 21 have 19 to hatch out. So I did get to see the virgins in some of those colonies. I was really more worried about hatching out than I was to say, hey, was there a queen in this colony? So anyway, I took care of that. And then this afternoon, the winds have been whistling up here and at probably 10 to 20 miles an hour, some gusts up to 50. And I put sugar water on everything tonight, just because even though our flows really started up here in the mountains, really wanted to get the bees something to do so that they're drinking some some sugar water. They're not having to go out and get stuff, especially with those newer colonies. And so far, most of those are looking pretty good. So none of them's blowed over yet, thank goodness. That's what I was worried about earlier. The wife there, she actually checked them before she went to work, and then when I came in and fed them, they were looking pretty good. So very excited with how all that's turning out. Man, what a busy bee season. So anyway, what's going on with you guys in the chat? Anybody got any questions? How has your week been? I will say that I think tomorrow's high is only supposed to be 50. So I think maybe our morning high is actually probably going to end up being our temperature for tomorrow, which is crazy to think about in spring. Again, the high wind is probably going to knock a lot of our poplar blooms down. So anyways, it's been a rough season anyway. So anybody got anything in the chat? Anybody want to talk about anything tonight? So I see the wife is on there. It's good seeing you. Good to see you coming in, and got Lee out here tonight. I think Tom and Melissa will probably be on a little bit later. I haven't heard from them today. I know that Melissa had a kidney stone, so she's not been feeling too good. Russell, it's good having you, buddy. So Philip's been on here. Let's see what Philip said. I tried doing. Here, let me see what he said there. Tried doing 2 laying worker newspaper combines, and both of those killed the queens. Didn't requeen. I'm done with that method. I hear you, Philip, man. I tell you that laying worker is not fun. It really is not fun. So I've done the paper method before. It does work. So Tim says the honeydew's getting it, but not much of anything else. So like I said, we are definitely at a super good flow. Had a lady that I mentor. I went over to her place, and she actually had a super full of honey already. And she's just a little bit lower in elevation, but not much. And she was tickled to death. She says the first time she's really got any honey out of her bees. So I felt like that was a great accomplishment for me to helping somebody out and then finally get honey, show them, giving their bees some treatments. And she's got 2 strong colonies. We did have one of the colonies that hadn't really built up yet, had some really bad cross combing on some plastic frames. I told her I'd just kind of take that off and then re-wax those plastic frames for her. So just trying to help out just a little bit. Oh, they were in nukes. Okay. Philip said they were in nukes. Yeah, it could have been Philip. Nukes are really, really rough. Yeah, Keith, the rain has washed out a few places up here. We did have a really hard rain about 3 or 4 days ago, and it did dig some of the roads back out. They had to drop some more rocks off the side of the roads to keep them from washing completely out. I was looking at the rivers. They're actually up here with the tractors and the backhoes and people sawing trees down, and they're actually cleaning the sides of the roads up. And I tell you what, they're really making the rivers look good. I know they're having to run up the rivers, and it hurts our trout that we have up here. But to get all that mess cleaned up to actually can access the river is huge for us up here. And then the grass is starting to get kind of tall, so a lot of the damage that normally we see, is not noticeable as bad because the grass has grown up, the trees have leaves on them. So looking a lot better up here. Looks a lot cleaner. It's kind of interesting when I look at the river that the way the water's rushing through there, that it's like cleaned all the sand and the silt out, and it's kind of deposited all that on the banks. So now you have this real crisp, clean rocks. And there were several creeks that actually had cut all the way back down to bedrock. Some places I'd never seen before. So our rivers have really changed up here. So let's see what Russ says here. My bees have been in have freeze for the last 4 days. Went into them today and they wore me out. Well, I'll tell you, some of those new colonies, Russ, absolutely was not very happy with me putting sugar water on them this afternoon either. So, and by the way, my wife took we still had some of the blueberry and ginger honey that you sent to us, and the creamed honey, and we actually allowed people to try it at work. And I actually had one of Jason's friends to give us some honey mixed with some obey. So we had some different flavors, and we actually gave those to some folks at work. Ruth did anyway, and everybody was tickled with it. Said that blueberry that you made was just unbelievable, and it is. But I like the ginger for some reason. I don't know. I like a little bit of spice. Hey, maybe that's why I like my wife so much, since she's Mexican. So anyway, so see what Darren says here. For re-waxing frames, do you just melt some wax into a bar, then spread the bar of beeswax over the frame? So, yeah, Darren, if I've got a frame that's kind of clean, pretty clean, I've got a wax melter, and I just get a big bar of wax, and I'll take a torch, and I'll torch the end of that wax, and then I'll go back and forth on my frames. And you talk about drawing out some comb. It is some of the prettiest comb you'll see. I think David Burns had done a video with that same method, and he'd used red dye in his wax, and you had these pretty red frames, so you could really see the comb being drawn out. It was really gorgeous. So yeah, anytime you have plastic frames, just take a torch to the wax that you got and just smear it on there, and the bees will take right back to the wax frames. So it turns out really good. I did several of those for this season, but we've lost so many bees that I haven't even had to dig into those frames this year so far. So, they ask you for the contact to buy the blueberry honey. Yeah, that's Russ Copeland right there. Is the gentleman that has that babe. Let's see. I think I've got Russ's information, and if not, I'll find it or get it from somebody. So Russ will try to send you some business your way, because everybody loved it. It was great. So yeah, Keith, you're absolutely right. That extra wax makes all the difference in the world on those frames. It boosts. I don't know, just the bees just take to it so much easier. Actually, I think when you melt that wax on those plastic foundations, they raise that up a little bit better than they do just straight wax foundation. For some reason, it definitely seems to do better. All right. The wife again. You're getting old, and I forget. And she's right. I do forget. And if it wasn't for my wife, to be honest with you folks, it would definitely be very hard. So she keeps me in line. So, and keeps the family running. So that's the way it works. But anyway. Anybody else got any questions? I did have a video I was going to do on the wax, doing the wax melting onto the plastic foundations. But when David Burns put his out, it was so good. I was like, I can't compete with that. So I did not do that video. Got several videos I need to put out. I ain't done it in a long time. Coming on the Bee Chat, I feel like is enough YouTube for me, coming on here and talking to you folks. And not only with you guys, but watching everybody else's. I watch several people throughout the week. We don't quite get to see Bruce's and Brian's and their Wednesday night chat, just because a lot of times we're busy or we have church that night. So yeah. So me and Lee's been talking about going on the Appalachian Trail. And I, for some reason, thought that was like a 2 months hike. I think it starts in Georgia and goes all the way up to Maine. And I think Lee had mentioned that was for a whole year. And our plans kind of changed a little bit. I didn't know if my wife would let me go hiking for a whole year, or half a year anyway, 6 months. So maybe she'd let me go for a couple of months, but I don't know about 6 months. So let's see what else we got here. Let's see, Royce says, been in the 30s at night. Looks like Michigan's going to warm up next week. Well, I hope it does for you guys. And man, I hope we don't see no more weather. I actually had to move my lemon tree back next to the house today, just because we've had some temperatures getting down around the freezing mark, and it's not looking real good right now. So I kind of moved it over just a little bit. So, hey, Jason. Hey, Ricky, for your cell builder, did you do that in a nuke box or a hive body? 48 is awesome. Congratulations, Jason. I appreciate that very much. And I'm going to tell you, last year I struggled really bad with my queen rearing. I tried several different ways. Finally, just what Greg Burns had told me to do, and that was just to kind of build a colony up real strong and make it basically to swarming purposes, and just cut the cells off. Took some queen rearing classes, and actually, I think this is Bob Binney's method, but basically took a 10 frame box. It's two 10 frame boxes. So, but I took the top box and flipped it down. I've got a queen excluder between them, so that puts my queen on top, and then I shooked a bunch of bees, nurse bees, down in the bottom of it. And then I put it's kind of like a inner cover. It's got an extra escape out the side with some metal mesh so the heat can rise up. And that basically makes them queenless, and they have to draw those cells out because they have nothing else. And then 3 days later, I rotate the boxes back around with the cells on top, and then they finish out capping them off. And then, I wait 14 more days, and then I'm able to move those into the my splits. So that's how I did it. It's worked very, very well so far. And be honest with it, if you had colonies that could do cell builders, if you had individual nukes that you didn't have no queens in, you could really produce a lot of queens. Virgin queens, anyway, that is. Now, getting them back made it and have enough colonies to do that, that would be kind of tough. So now, Philip, you do something similar to that, right? Is that correct?
Well, we started this year, but you said 14 days. That's too long, right?
Well, it's 14 days from let me see right here on my notes. I think I'm counting the whole time.
I think it's 12 or 13.
Yeah.
From grafting, if you get the right age cells.
I've got it in my notes because I'm really trying to keep up with it right here. So
we moved.
Yeah, so between rotating my boxes and moving them out is actually 6 days. I think it's technically on the 13th or 14th full amount day, but it's 4 days after you move them up to that top box that I'm actually moving them out to the starters. So
okay,
does that sound right, Philip?
Yeah, they'll cap them in 6 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, they I mean, in my mind, it's 12 to 13, 12 and a half days. That's what, then that came out. We moved ours into or not all of them, but we moved like 10 of 14 on the last ones into an incubator.
Mm-hmm.
Eight of those hatched out of the 8 of the 10 hatched out of the incubator. And then we put those. We're gonna find out maybe tomorrow whether, I know we lost a couple of those. I wasn't sure how to introduce them to the splits, so I put them in queen release cages, and a couple of them died in the cages. The bees didn't feed them, and I found out later that if you don't put them right next to brood, the bees will ignore them and won't feed them.
Yep.
But a couple of them I put them in was there goes Sophie and her friend. Couple of them I put them in. They were just bees and frames. I just put 2 cups of bees and a little mini mating nukes because at that point we were just trying to be successful in our grafting because we had failed miserably through several rounds, and we're moving into getting the hive set up to make honey, and weren't really wanting to fool with nukes, but we just were determined not to finish on a bad note. We went through a lot of learning this year, so we're going to hit it again next year pretty hard and maybe be a little more ready. But yeah, I was about to ask you, what are you going to do with 48 queens, man? That's a lot.
Well, I put 21 cells in my splits that I had, and I give the rest of them away to a friend of mine because I couldn't use that much. The first batch that I did exactly what you just said. Only got 4 cells out of that one. And I didn't pull, when I rotated my boxes back around and pulled my grafts back to the top with a queen excluder between them, I didn't pull no brood up. So there was nothing to go up there and help those cells out. So only the very bottom ones that was down next to the bottom box kind of got, nourishment and finished capping off. So only got 4 the first time. And then, I was like, man, well, if I do 60 and maybe I'll get 16 out of it. And then I ended up with 48. It was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So, but it's better to have too many. I will say that some of the cells I dropped, I made sure sometimes I dropped 2. And I did talk to my bee master, and he said, well, you basically wasted the queen because whichever one's going to hatch out first is going to, take basically and kill the other one. But there was a couple of the hives I didn't do that, and those are the ones that did not hatch out. So, so that was okay with me to lose a few because I didn't really have to worry about that much. So,
Yeah, what we didn't do the next year. I'm going to do a method similar to yours. So I think I'm going to try to do the one with the cloak board. You know, put a queen
yeah,
excluder, bring all the
yep,
brood up, and then give them like 5 days or whatever to make sure it's all too old for them to make queens out of, and
yep,
then put the cloak board in. Uh, but this year, what we did was we we made like 16 or so splits, 2 frame splits. We had room for 3 frames, but we just had a frame of brood and a frame of food. So we made those up, and we had we were doing splits from just queenless colonies. Like we made 3 colonies queenless, and we went and cut the cells out. And
yep,
all those splits we made was for that process.
right.
Well, at the end of that, we were setting up our cell builder, and that was going to be our next thing we were going to do. Well, we had
Awesome.
4 frames of brood left over that we didn't use. I had enough to make 20. I think I made 16 splits. So I said, well, let's just use these 4 frames of brood to increase the strength of our cell builder, and
Right.
which we did. And then like the next day we grafted into it. And when we came back, we'd all out of, let's see, I did 12. No, I think we did 28 cells, and only one of them took.
Oh,
So
wow.
what happened was those 4 frames of brood that we put in there had enough young brood in it. They
Yep.
made like a 10 or a dozen queen cells on those frames.
Right.
And those were not the genetics I wanted. That was some of those crazy bees from the country. So I went in and knocked all that down.
Yep.
And we started again almost immediately. Like the next day, we grafted again. And that time there was like 24 out of 30 that took. And 5 of those misses were my grafts. No, only had like 1 miss. So I was like 5 for 10. So we went back after 3 days and saw that, 2 or 3 days and saw that. And then we went back after 5 days and checked them, and they had chewed every one of those down. So we got a gut punch on that deal.
Yeah.
So then I said, well, the only thing could have happened is I missed a cell, and there's a virgin running around in here.
Virgin run around. Yep.
So
That's what I was about to say.
we went through it looking for her. I shook them through a queen excluder, couldn't find her. I literally this was like an hour process. I literally said, all right, we're not letting that virgin back in here. I took and put a queen excluder on the bottom of the, above, between the base and the super. And I shook every bee in front of that hive and made them crawl through the queen excluder. Went back and looked under the queen excluder, didn't find her. So then we waited a few days, and I added a frame with eggs in it, and they, of course, drew a ton of cells out on it. So I said, well, she's not in here. They wouldn't have done that.
Right.
So we used a few of those because we made sure we put eggs in there from queen that we'd want to use. And we used those and made a couple of splits out of those and tried again. Actually, just Noah tried again this time. And and I told him, I mean, this was like a month-long process, all these starts and spits and failures.
Yep.
And I told him, and I had shook some nurse bees, like 3 or 4 frames of nurse bees in front of the colony and let them crawl in through the queen excluder. But that's all that I'd done. And those bees had gotten so old, I told Noah, I said, don't expect a real good take because all these bees are old. They're too old to be making a lot of royal jelly. And that's when he got about 14 out of 30 to take.
That's pretty good.
So that wasn't too bad. And that's what we were dealing with. We put 10 of those in the incubator and
hatched them out.
Yep. So now we're waiting on like 6 of those, I think, and we're hoping the We're hoping the cell builder also requeen itself. I think I'm gonna check that tomorrow. But
And
tomorrow
and
they should.
yeah, the incubator you're using, it's basically using like a chicken incubator because you can use that same
No,
system, right? No?
I'm not. I just took my. I've got a little warming cabinet that I made with. It's got
Okay.
a light bulb in it, and I just put
Hmm.
a bowl of water with a rag in the bottom of it and set
Yep.
it to about 92 degrees or 93 degrees, and that worked out okay. I was worried because when I went in there to check them, that like a day before they were to hatch, I noticed all my bowl was dry and the rags in it were dry. I was like, oh man, I
Oh
cooked those
gosh.
cells.
Need that moisture.
So
Yep.
I just poured water in there and walked away. But 8 out of 10 of them hatched out, so it
That's
worked out
good.
okay.
That's really good. So, Wingrove, any suggestions on videos? Learn more. I like David Burns is okay. Frederick Dunn is my favorite. If you want to learn a lot about, I think you said you had horizontals. He's got some horizontals. Great guy to do that with. If you want queen rearing and stuff, I could suggest Bob Benny, really good guy. Or even, I don't know if Greg Burns has got any queen rearing videos or not, but I think he's got a little bit with scrum grafting and stuff. So he's really good. And he actually gives some great presentations on grafting queens also. So,
Yeah.
and I think, go ahead.
Wingrove, is your question for beginning beekeeping, or is it for intermediate, or what level is it for?
Yeah. And Roy asked, he said, what are people selling ripe cells for? I think Tom and Melissa was on here last week, and maybe they said like $15.
Really? Wow.
$10 for a ripe cell.
$10
I
around
think
here.
that's not bad because you don't have to wait that 16 days to get that queen, to the point where it's ready to hatch out and go. So
Right.
I don't think that's a bad deal.
Wingrove, don't know how to say it, but he said beginner. I'll tell you what, I enjoy listening to him, but the University of Arkansas has a beginning beekeeper series. So Google University of Arkansas beginning beekeeper, and they have about a 4-part series, and they start with, they start with the history of beekeeping, your equipment. It's really, really good and thorough. I sold a nuke to a lady, and she was asking me a lot of questions, and I could tell she didn't have much base knowledge at all, and she was taking people's recommendations off of Facebook of all places on what to do with her new nuke. And so I just sent her the link and said, watch these videos. Because I mean, she was calling frames, she was calling them trays. And she was, well, basically I sold her a pretty strong nuke, and it had 3 frames of brood and 2 frames of food. And she sent me a text that said, should I put a brood booster in the feed? And she said in the water, first thing she said. And then she replied and said, sugar water. And I told her, I said, hang on a second, Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on. Had to get on Sophie. She's shaking some ice over there. They're making a cocktail. Bring me one.
So Brian's asking, what are the top 3 YouTube channels to recommend to the beginning beekeeper?
Oh boy.
Wow. That's I will put Frederick Dunn there. He repeats a lot of his information because he takes people's questions. I'd say I love Frederick Dunn. I like listening to him. I'd put him in the top. Oh man.
Early on, I was listening to Fred and watching Cayman.
Cayman, yeah.
I'm not sure, what, and I still watch Cayman's videos. He doesn't do near as many videos as he used to.
Yep. Bob Benny definitely is great. Yeah, I keep forgetting about Bob. Bob is awesome. He's been in beekeeping forever. So, what do you guys think in the chat?
Bob, you get good information, but it's like, to me, Bob Benny and Ian Stepler and all those guys, it's pure entertainment to me, because I don't ever plan to be on that level.
Well, even though they're commercial level, you still are getting a lot of good information from those guys,
I'll tell you the people I like to watch for how they do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy down in Louisiana that does those how-to videos.
Yeah, maybe that guy.
I watch that guy. He's
Yep.
he's got pretty basic good stuff.
Yep. Mike Berry is definitely
Yeah,
a good backyard beekeeper to watch, and
yeah. I
he
like to
just
watch.
kind of yeah.
I got to watch Joey's videos. Joey's got really good content on his channel.
Yeah, Joey, all them Southern guys, Bruce is pretty good. He's a little more on the commercial side, but if you want to look at
Yeah,
another backyard guy, Brian is great. Castle Hives, that's another real good one. That just another backyard beekeeper trying to learn. And what I like about Brian, he will post his mistakes. I
yeah.
feel like some of you guys don't want to show they make any mistakes, and we all know in beekeeping we make a lot of those mistakes. I know I do. So.
All
Yeah,
those
Caitlin's
guys.
old ones are good.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
but yeah. Don't watch me if you want to make honey, because I'm really worried about my honey crop this year.
well, I'm right there with you, Philip, because I was going to have one colony that I thought might make some honey, and then the bear attacked it, and I was so heartbroken. And
Well, my issue's not bees. My issue is going to be a flow, because I've gone through my hives and there's bees all up in the honey supers, but they're just not. They're filling. Some of them are filling the completely perfect drawn comb that they have, but they're not putting on white wax, and they're not drawing out the combs that are. I lost a lot of my combs to wax moths last year, so a lot of them they need to really rebuild, and they're really not. It's not a good enough flow.
yeah,
And I don't know if I'm gonna get any new comb this year. So if they would
oh
fill up
wow,
the drone comb I have, I'd be happy. But like I said, I want to get to a point to where they push me a little bit, and I have to put some more supers on. But I don't know if I'm ever going to get there. I've got a lot
right.
of extra supers built with just empty frames in them, and
I did catch a swarm about 3 weeks ago. Guy called me up. It was a box full of bees. I mean, it was bigger than a nuke could really handle. That's how thick these bees were. And I brought them home, put sugar water on them, and man, they went to town. They've already drawn out the whole bottom 10 frames. I'm like, wow, this is great.
that's
And then I
good.
put a super on them, and then they just kind of slowed down. So I added the sugar water back to them again. Now they've kind of pushed up into it, and now with the flow, I added another super on top of that and stopped the sugar water. So I'm hoping these guys will really take off. So that might be my only chance at honey this year.
Yeah, I did start a new bee yard. That was good.
Oh, really? Where'd you do that at?
It's a I have a bee yard in a town called Crossroads at a friend's house, and then his neighbor. It's to help them keep their ag exemption on their taxes. And I ended up their neighbor wanted to have bees on her property, so I cut them a deal to where the pricing of the contract is basically like it's one contract. My pricing is $3,500 a year for up to 10 hives, and then it's $300 a colony after that. So total contract is 14 colonies, and then I just split it between them because they both need 7 hives each. I'm probably going to end up putting 10 on each, but anyway, we set hers up. They're not even. There's no way they're going to make, because I'm kind of just sticking my little piecemeal. They're basically nukes on hers right now. And I've got some decent colonies over on my friends. We're talking 300 or 400 yards away. They're not very far apart. And some of those, one of them had some honey, but most of them had plenty of bees, but still hadn't filled up any supers yet. But when we were going out there, I noticed there's a lot of privet out there, and it was budding out and starting to bloom. So I'm really hoping that that's gonna kick in. It's a different kind of privet than the early blooming stuff.
So,
Hey, JW.
Christy's saying JW's a good teacher. I think he's a good teacher about how to let swarms go. So,
I don't
Mark
know.
on here is talking about 50 inches of rain, JW. So, do you know how that feels?
Yeah, but I'm starting to dry up now. Sorry I'm late. I'm just getting in. I'm in the trapping mode. I've been setting traps. And
I've seen those.
I've been back. I'm back after This be my fifth night. 4 nights I've caught 5 coons and 1 skunk.
I blamed last year's on too much rain, which was true, but this year, the only thing I can blame it on is Matt for working his bees on April Fool's Day.
That's what's.
Unfortunately, I worked mine on April Fool's Day too.
That
Oh,
Sandy Valley guy, he's the one that created all
I
the
got
problems
some.
up here.
Yeah, I was out. It wasn't long after that. JW was getting on Mark. I was back out there in Crossroads, and I looked on top of that hive, and my date on there was 4/1/25. I was like, "Oh no, I'm in trouble too."
Well, I've had 14 out of my hives. I've caught 11 of them back. Give one to a neighbor for coming over and helping me. I had 3 swarms in the trees at the same time. They were high. Excuse me. And I had a mess, so I said, "You'll come and help me. I'll give you one for helping me," and he did. And we got them back in, and 2 of them was high. We couldn't get to them, so. But out of 14, I've got 11 of them back. And 2 I just waved bye to and farewell and good luck, so they were 40, 45 foot in the pine trees.
JW, if you get those honeybees like you catch those raccoons, you could just retire on catching honeybees.
I don't like to do that. I'm sorry.
I just split them though when you have to go get them out of the tree.
I haven't done a cutout in I don't guess since 23. I hate them. I just don't like to do them. A lot of folks love it, but I do not like to do it.
That's a good question.
Christy's got a question for you, JW. Are you painting those coons blue this year?
I'm painting them red.
That's last year's color.
That's last year's color.
I'm painting them red because that's what happens. That's the marker paint. It's kind of an orangish red. That orange reddish marker.
Yeah,
that's what I'm painting them with. But that's. I'm hoping I don't do nearly as well as some of them I've done in the past, but so far, like I said, I've trapped. This will be my 5th night. I just reset them a few minutes ago. That's the reason I'm running late. I'm trying to. I had some wax dip woodware and waxing frames, and time got away from it. I apologize for being late on you, Rex, but I just
all right, brother.
Now getting around.
Well, the raccoons mess with bees.
Yes, they certainly will. Not nearly as bad as skunks, but I've got all my. I've done it for years. I'm not like every one of my hives. If you've seen some of my pictures of my yards, are on individual stands. I've got them all up 18 inches off the ground.
Yeah, I was out at my hives. Oh, it's been less than a week ago at night because I was moved. When I was setting up that new yard, I went out to close them up, and while I was out there, a raccoon walked across the top of the fence, and it was pretty close to the bees, and it might have crawled up on the fence where the bees were, but I didn't know they would mess with them. I know they'll pull the tops off and eat pollen and stuff like that, but my lids on my colonies are pretty heavy. I don't think they could pick them up. Unless they had a friend to help them.
I'm sorry, but I'll bet they can. I had 2 of them got in I had a chain over a galvanized trash can that I had cat food in, and they actually bent that lid up with that chain holding down across the top in the middle.
Really?
Bent that lid in a V, and I went out there about 10 o'clock in the morning. There was 2 down in there eating cat food. Last year when I went on the warpath. This year I had 9-gallon jugs of honey water. I had sitting back there in I call it my hoop barn yard. I bottled up 9-gallon to feed the bees of sugar water, and them little suckers got into them jugs and shoot holes in every one of them and spilt that whole 9 gallon each one of those jugs, and I had to throw the jugs away because I had, they're ingenious little devils if they get on the warpath.
Yeah. That I've had them open ice chests. They can actually open the latch on an ice chest.
Yeah, they could. There can be they're a pain in the rear. I'm telling you, big time pain in the rear.
Hey, Brian, I got a
I've got all
question for
kinds of
you.
varmints, so I'm used to them. But I caught a skunk today, and I released it, and I had a video going, and I got that little sucker up there. Had him covered up in a live trap, and I took him up to the river bottoms, which is it's about 10 miles up there. And I went to release him, but I was trying to hold my phone and release that live trap at the same time. And I couldn't get that dude to go out of that cage, save my life. I probably just had to give up, shut my camera off, and I finally got him out there. I was trying to get him out of there without getting sprayed. If I get too aggressive, and he finally went out, but I was too late. I'd already shut my video down, so I didn't get it. I got everything up to the releasing part, but he wouldn't go out of the cage. So. There's a skunk.
Hey, Brian, how did you end up getting Paul Hell down there where you was at, or out west where you was at? That I was trying to figure that out. You got some kind of fancy honey going on over there, or what the deal is with that? You seen on Facebook, they were together.
He's giving every no lifer that shows up, I think, $1,000 bill. I think that's what he said.
Oh my gosh, I'm headed that way, man.
I think it's. Yeah, I went out to see him, and all I got was a hat, but it's a wonderful hat. It's my favorite hat. So I'm trying to take extra good care of it, Brian, and I thank you very sincerely for this wonderful hat.
Brian, drive those nukes over to Tom and Melissa so they can take them out to Ricky.
Yeah, we'll take those.
That's probably only about a
I think they're going
15-hour
to
drive.
They're moving down to southwest Missouri. I heard down to the lake. They spend most of their time down there anymore. So I think they're just going to move down there. That's what I'm told. I'm not sure.
I do need to know. Oh, go ahead. I do need to know, Ricky. I wanted to. Must have had a giveaway. We're not giving away any hives tonight. Hell, Paul. So, I got my donation I want to give for you. Do I send it to you, or do I send it to Tom and Melissa so they can make it part of their thing, or how do you want me to do that?
Yeah, we talked to Tom and Melissa. I was hoping they was going to be on tonight, and we're going to let them kind of collect the money if anybody wants to give any money, and they're going to give a check to to our president, Wayne Pitts, and present him with a check. And this is just
the president of your. That's your
club,
president of a new club, right?
Yeah, of our new club, yeah, and that'll allow us to buy some equipment. And somebody needs a nuke. We have a few people in the county that's going to try to give some nukes, and that's one of the reasons why I have all these queens out here in my yard. I'm going to try to give some nukes. And then, whatever anybody else, Matt and Tom and Melissa sends down. And we also have, I think, let's see, I'm going to make sure I get this right. I think Clay is bringing some down, and John from West Cliff is bringing some nukes bringing some nukes down. And I got to get up.
West Cliff is in Colorado, isn't he? Or am I thinking of somebody else? I must be thinking.
John Westcliff's in Colorado.
Yeah.
He said he was in Virginia. Maybe it's somebody else. I missed. There's two guys coming from out of Virginia anyway. Yeah. And they're going to bring some nukes down. I want to talk to those guys and see what day they're going to come in. If they're going to come in on Friday, we'd like to maybe get a dinner together especially for you guys coming down, JW, and thanking you guys. and then
Now listen, I'm not coming.
oh, you're not coming, JW?
They set the date toward on the weekend. I've had my family reunion comes to my farm the first Saturday in June for 20. This will be the 27th year, I think.
Okay.
I cannot go any other time. I told them I'd furnish the vehicle or whatever they needed, but I cannot come that weekend because I'm the what's left of a family of 10. So I'm the last of the Mohicans. So they all come to my.
Okay.
Well, they've done it for years, but my whole family, which is usually 40 to 80.
Stone Creek. Thank you, Clay. Stone Creek. Thank you, Clay. Clay's coming and Stone Creek is coming down. So sorry about that, JW, because, I had rented a tent and these nice tables and a nice comfortable chair so you could sit there and sign autographs. I'll have to cancel all that now, I guess.
That's right. He had you one of those trailers like the movie stars.
But it
just going to have him, just come out with this big presentation, big microphone, talking to people, and
I'm really good at that. Well, like I said, I apologize, but I just wasn't no way that I could come the weekend.
That's fine. That's fine.
The Saturday in June is when we've had it for.
We need to have one of those. We need to have a group of us just kind of show up at your house whenever you're having your reunion, just to.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
about.
I'll
tell you what. If you show up, well, you'd be more than welcome. I feed the whole bunch of fish. We have a fish fry deluxe.
My brother once brought his girlfriend to the family. We used to have big family reunions like that when my dad and his brothers and all were alive. And my brother brought a girl to one of them, and the next year my uncle said, "Yeah, Paul brought that girl to the family reunion. She took one look at us Morses, and she was halfway back to Monroe before he caught up with her."
That's where all my family meets their mates. That's what I tell them. At the family reunions.
Yeah, JW, that January or June the 7th was the same week we're supposed to go down to the beach, and I told Tom and Matt, I think that was about the best day for them. So I told them I would stay here at the house that day and help hand out stuff and be part of this, because if people are willing to come down, I'm gonna stick behind and just help out. So
JD's coming there, he says.
Okay.
I talked to him.
JB, I mean, not JD. JB at Stone River.
Yeah.
We talked it over up here, and there's just no way I can come that weekend any other time. Fine, but that's the only firm date of the year. I'm absolutely tied up. So
that's no big deal. And hey, we appreciate anything. If I have enough mated queens, I might bring some mated queens out to give away also. So I think right now, I have 15 people that want nukes, and I'm sure there'll be more people than that. We have our bee meeting next week, and when I get up with that group and actually get a list, then find out how many nukes are coming and kind of get everything coordinated together. It's hopefully going to be really good for this area, and I appreciate all the help. Folks, you do not understand how much I appreciate it. So this is really nice. Go ahead, JB. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I tell you what, Brian, I fixed a lot of frames here lately and thrown a lot of old comb away. With going down on my numbers, it's really allowed me to pick through the best comb and toss out comb, put new foundation in frames. Done a lot of that work. And then, frames that are not good, maybe take one apart and add stuff to another frame. So
are you trying to reclaim the wax off of them?
I do absolutely reclaim all the wax off of every frame. Yep. I don't let none of it go to waste.
I've got a colony out in the country. When I inspected it, they looked weak, and I looked and they had spotty pattern. Then I started noticing a bunch of the brood was kind of coffee colored, and some of it was almost black.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it was European foul brood. I don't know, but I think that's what does that. But I think I'm going to, and the comb looked really old. So I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to do a shook swarm with them. I'm going to just shake them all out in front of them and give them all foundation and feed them and see if that fixes them. Or try to or maybe try to requeen them too. But I do want to get rid of that. And I'm going to melt that down. You don't think that foul brood, if that wax is boiled, it should take care of that, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that'll be all right.
It's
I'll
not
tell you something else,
AFB.
Phil, with that black comb foundation that I've noticed, especially if you've left it out for maybe 3 or 4 months or whatever, and you put it in a new colony. If you've ever done that, a lot of times they'll tear all that black comb off of it and then put new wax on it. So they're they're spending more time breaking down that frame to clean it back slick to where there's like a foundation, and then put new wax back on it. So they're doing twice the amount of work basically.
Well, I mean, and I usually take that really old nasty stuff and use it in my swarm traps.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know if I want to do that if it has European foul brood in it.
No, I wouldn't do that.
I think I just want to melt it down. And I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's not American foul brood, because that American foul brood affects the cap brood, not the open brood. This is all open brood that's being affected.
So DC's got a question. He says, I have a question for y'all. Have any of you split right before the main flow? I'm thinking strong splits into singles, 5, maybe 6 frames of brood. So I think it's a real great time to do it if you don't want a honey flow and you're just trying to build nukes.
Yeah, that's when that's when they want to swarm, is right before the flow. So that's a good time to split for sure.
What do you think,
I did that. Yeah.
What you think, JW?
Well, you can't have both. You can't have multiple hives, split hives of bees, and make very much honey out of them.
Well, what I did, of course, I wasn't trying to. I was just trying to prevent swarming. So I split my old queen off in like a 5-frame nuke, or actually, I think it was I put them in a 10-frame box, but they basically took about 5 frames out. And well, before that, about a month before that, I put on a second deep, and it was just all foundation, and pulled up a couple of frames of brood and let them start to work on that. But my goal was to get 3 to 5 frames drawn out so I could make that split. I split off that last year's queen and I just let them make a new queen. And when I did that, I went in and took the brood away from the old queen and put it back in the new, with the new queen, so they would not lose their workforce. But you're still only going to have one hive that's a honey producer at that point. You're going to have one real weak nuke and one honey producer. And I went in like 3 different times and just stole the brood and put it back in the original hive. But my purpose was to try to make honey and prevent swarming. That was my goal. And I did that on my yard here where I could get to it, often enough. I did that to a little bit of a degree in the other yards, but not near as much.
So let me ask everybody a question. If I don't get any honey this year from my bees, does that still mean that I'm a beekeeper?
Well, yeah.
I'd hate to go to Walmart and buy honey to put in our coffee. So hopefully we'll get a little bit of honey.
Yeah, if you get that, just let me know. I'll send you some down. I'm going to have plenty.
I'll tell you what, let's be frank. It's not true. If you don't have a colony that's rocking and rolling with bees, at least in my area, you're not getting any honey. They're going to make just enough to keep themselves going. A strong hive will make 3 times the honey of a half hive, or maybe more. They get to a point to where they start storing it away. But
well, it's just the fact that bees will make a liar out of you. What have you done? I probably tore my hives apart more this spring than I've ever done, and I've had 14 swarms that I've seen out of my own hives, and I may have some that I didn't see, but I'm out there every day. I don't think I did, but I had 14, and that's more than I've had in the last, I'm going to say 8 or 9 years combined. Because I think last year I had 2 swarms. Year before that I had 1. I think the year before that I had 3, and beyond that, I don't remember. But I haven't had very many swarms ever, and I split hard. Tom and Melissa came out here, and they took several frames of brood. Yeah, I said, I don't care. I don't have to have the honey, and you can take brood to build nukes with. I don't remember the numbers of frames of brood that they took, was somewhere around 50. And about, I don't know, 25 or 30 days after we did all that, and everything that was suspect, I've left 2. Anything that had swarm cells, I took them all out and left 2, and separated them, split them, and I went from around 30 to around 50 again, and still had 14 swarms. So, I'm reluctant to do how-to videos just for that regard, because I feel there's enough smart people out there without me putting out my information, because I just don't make videos for that reason. As far as how
you're chatting with us, so that's good, JW. You're giving out your information anyway, so that's really good. So, and we appreciate it. So,
I'm just telling you what happened to me this year, and they say split and stops it. Well, it didn't stop it for me this year, but this has been an unusual year. We had all this. What throwed things out of kilter, I think, at my place is that I had about 3 weeks of solid rain. We got, I got almost 15 inches of rain there in about 15 days, and that the bees couldn't. They got all nectar and pollen balance. What happened, and then wasn't no place for them queens to lay.
Yeah. What I was telling that guy on that depends on your area. See, Morris said his nukes will make a if you're in those areas where you're going to fill up 3 or 4 frames, mediums with a normal colony, yes, I agree. You can make a split and still make honey. But around here, we're lucky to get 2 supers on a strong colony. And every now and again we'll get 3. But yeah, and also if you split and give them a mated queen, you can make honey off of those too, if you split early enough.
Well, I've got 44 production hives right now, and I've got 2 on everything and 3 on about half of them.
Well, I got 2 boxes on a lot of mine, but they ain't up. There's no honey in them.
Well, they're going through. I'll go through almost a box a week right now.
That's great.
Yeah.
So if the weather holds, we're supposed to get down to 44 here tonight.
See, it's like us down to 50.
Really?
I mean, it's not supposed to be warm at all tomorrow, so it's crazy. So
and it's just one of those things. So you take if you're in the bee business, you just take what you get. That's no use griping about it. You just go forth.
Yeah. Well, people like Keith Spillman, he's, probably 1,000 feet lower in elevation, and he's got colonies that are like 8 boxes up, and I'm like, here, I'm just getting started. Come on, I give me something, So
yeah,
like he'd mentioned on here, hopefully those 2 colonies that he nursed up, maybe they will make some honey up here for us. We'll see how they go. So
I'll try to get some pictures this week of mine. If I get back on in the future, I'll show you some of mine. They're all. I think I've got 11 or 12 that's taller than mine. Of course, I'm not I've always been vertically challenged. I'm not the tallest guy in the world, but they're all. I've got, I think, 10 or 11 that's higher than my head right now. But I've got them on, they're on hive stands. That's not from the ground. That's from 18 inches up to about 6 foot.
I don't know, Keith. I don't know how you can be. Of course, you must be pretty close to the East Coast or something because they are ahead of us over there.
I can't believe Mike says it's calling for snow. That is crazy.
That's
He's in
nuts.
Michigan, isn't he, Mike?
Yeah.
Uh,
Is he, I thought maybe he's in Pennsylvania. Oh, we always get this wrong. We ask him like every time he's on here. So
yeah, Mike's up in, I think he's in lower Michigan, but he's in lower Michigan, right up next to
okay,
it. I think, don't take that for gospel. I think
Maine. Dayton says he's in Maine. So
who, Mike?
that's what they're saying.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. I guess
Vermont. Oh, we're all wrong.
we're all wrong. Okay, I'm sorry, Mike. I'm throwing out erroneous information on you. I thought you was in Michigan, lower Michigan.
Golly days, frost warning, Russ. Man.
Yeah, for Russell. Yeah.
It got down to 60 yesterday here overnight, and I thought that was cold.
Well, I was in hives all day yesterday, and I mean, hot. It was hot, and tonight's supposed to be 40s. That's hard on the bees. Anytime you got that big of variance in temperature. Mark Miller's got his tomato plants. I've got some, about half, and they're green, but they're about half size, Mark. What the deer haven't eat up. I planted four tomato plants.
Oh, wow.
The other night, without the next morning, the deer pulled one of them up and ate the other three. We're just eat up with deer and wildlife around here. And just, you name it, we got it. Deer, turkey, coons, possums, skunks, bobcats. Every little old creature known. Moles, groundhogs. I got groundhogs under about every storage. I got several of those storage boxes, the shipping containers. Every one of them's got groundhogs underneath them. I don't kill nothing except time.
JW, you got all kinds of vermin up there. You don't grow bees, you grow vermin.
I got a lot of them. A lot of them.
Hey, Dave, I'd like to know how your Harbo tests go maybe next week. If you don't mind sharing that information, I'd love to hear about it. So, yeah, Mark, that's usually the way it is. You plant your garden, next thing you know, it rains and washes everything away, So,
you know what the problem is, Mark Miller? I'm going to tell you what your problem is. You're associating with that guy that worked those bees back there on April Fool's Day, and you've been letting him come down to your place, and he's got you jinxed just like the rest of us. You're gonna have to do away with your association with that Sandy Valley guy, because he's got this all jinxed. I'm telling you. Yeah, I love you, Matt. I'll do you a lot of favors.
So what's everybody doing for Memorial Day besides working in their bees? Anybody got any big plans?
No, it's always usually if I wasn't so busy, that's when the bluegill spawn around here. That's always the bluegill bedding spawn. You can catch them about as fast as you can drop a line in the water. Yeah, I'm jealous of him, Brian. That's right. Mark's a lot smarter. He can teach you a lot more than I can. I can tell you that for sure. But I'm going to tell you what, he hangs around with him very much, he'll have Mark jinx just like he jinxed me. I can tell you that.
Morris, you're not supposed to work on Memorial Day. You're supposed to enjoy it, man.
Yeah.
My third batch of queens should be coming off on Monday. So this is out of a pretty good queen. So hopefully it does just as good as the last set. I only did 26 this time. So hopefully it does just as well. And so I gotta drop those cells into some more colonies. So, and then hopefully have a breeder queen coming in about another 2 weeks. And then that's when hopefully my grafting is a whole lot better than it is right now. So, oh, Jenny's birthday on Monday.
Well, early happy birthday, Jen.
Yep, no doubt. Rain. Doesn't rain. Taking Bertha. And the
Now you won't melt, Keith. Go just get old Bertha and kick them tracks in and head out. I won't wear your tracks out so bad if it's raining and the ground slick. It will be easier on your tracks.
Hopefully no flats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brian, you're definitely going to be working for Jen on Monday.
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing, JW, on Memorial Day? Same thing as always, just another day for you?
Another day in my world. I've got one living sister left, and she and I try to, she's 90. I try to take her to our folks are married at. Usually on or about Memorial Day, that's usually the trip we try to make. Bless her heart, she's getting in pretty bad shape, so I don't know if we'll be able to go this year or not, but that's what I'm planning on trying to do. So,
Philip, what are you going to be doing? You going to work in your bees, or you got other plans?
I'm Monday morning. I'm helping the scouts. We're doing a flag ceremony at a old folks home. That's really all I got planned, and they're gonna have a barbecue for us. That's all I'm doing. Just staying here local. But yeah, I hope to work my bees. I might go down to the farm. We'll see. I don't have anything pressing. I need to make some extended release oxalic acid pads. I've got all the stuff I need.
So will that work for you right now, Philip? Or
well, I should have had them on already.
Okay.
But
I got you.
Well, what I'll do is I'll give them an OA vapor treatment and then put them on to try to just help knock them back a little bit.
Okay. I got you.
But I haven't done. I did OA treatments on my queenless splits and stuff. Not my broodless splits. So, but I think I got some pretty significant varroa building up in all my main hives right now. But I need to. I sometimes just go in and do an OAV even with the honey supers on.
Yeah. JW, you going to be pulling any honey anytime soon, or are you already starting to pull a little bit?
No, I've got some boxes that's totally packed out, but I pull twice a year. I'll probably pull the second weekend, and I've got a mentee that helps me, a young lady, and we pull usually the second week in June, and again about the third week of July, and we're done. And I'm hoping be somewhere around 2,400 pounds, I think, what we'll have. And that's way too much honey. I can tell you that. I handle.
Well, the way people keep coming up your driveway, you're going to need it, right?
You know, I've had to You bring that up, but I know people think I'm probably lying like a dirty dog, but
Your creation.
they come to my driveway at the farm. I've got it on the honor system. And as of today, this week, since Sunday, I've sold, I think, 27 pounds of honey. You know, the honor system, they just come and pick it up and leave. And I created a monster. I started creamed honey, flavored creamed honey. That's all Brian Zavada's fault. He got me. And I can't keep it. I cannot keep it. The ladies just carry it fast as I stick it out there. They take it. And,
I think that's what I need to do, JW. Is just take my honey down to one of these local guys, maybe, and that does a little bit of the thing that you do. You know, just stick it out beside the road, maybe put my honey with their stuff, and see if that won't work out. 'Cause got a friend that does his chicken eggs that way, so you know that may be a double whammy if it works out good. So
I've had good luck. Oh well, I've had good luck.
It's very heavy.
Tom and Melissa's talking about you.
Forward.
I see that. You're about to get out of my territory. You know, I've been telling folks I think you're moving to Southwest Missouri. One here.
Somebody's going to do CPR on JW. Keeps hitting him nuts. He's going to get choked on him.
I think they're going to let move in on the houseboat and try to keep bees on the houseboat down there on the lake. Well,
Yeah,
I just heard that now. I'm not trying to start any false tales or anything.
That's the new style. Put your bees on a houseboat, huh? Let them float around.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know where Tom and Melissa are eating right now.
Oh, that's a good question. What do you think, JW? Where they eating at?
There's some kind of a Rudy Snoot restaurant down there that you can't hardly get into. They made a special trip, quote unquote, down there last weekend to go to this special Rudy Snoot restaurant that's really hard to get into.
McDonald's? I don't think so, DC. I've seen some of their posts on Facebook. I don't think McDonald's is one of them. So, yeah, it does. It does have a good ring to it.
Stopped at Freddy's. Freddy the Freeloaders. Where you go?
I'm getting kicked out. My daughter said they're going to watch a movie in here, so I don't know where I'm going to go.
Uh-oh, Philip, you're hurting, buddy.
See who's in charge around here.
Yeah, it's always the ladies. My dad's taught me well. I mean, yes, sir. I mean, yes, ma'am. Whatever you want, I'll do it. So last week we ate at the restaurant at the college.
See, here they come. They're making all kinds of excuses already.
I'm wondering if that's Tom typing that in or is that Melissa typing that in?
I don't know.
I'm going to say Tom, but I may be wrong.
DC, Tom's got a tapeworm, I think. That's all they do is eat, and he's skinning the rail. My shadow weighs more than him.
Your shadow.
So Ricky, where are you? You're usually not in that room you're in now.
Yeah, I'm usually here, but my lemon tree's usually over here. It's outside, and I forgot my hat today, so
Where's your hive, though? Where's your indoor hive? It's not there, is it?
That got eaten up by the wax moths through winter, so I've got the combs to reattach to that spot.
Oh, you just turned a different direction, I guess.
Yeah, it's this way.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, so get those combs melted and reattached, and then hopefully one of these new queens that get mated, I'm going to throw up there with some bees. So we'll see how that goes. No bees indoors, but they will be some because I really enjoy it. I mean, I can tell when it's going to rain. Get to watch them build a new comb. I can tell when the flow's going on by the comb that's being built. Just a lot of good information with an observation hive. And I don't know. I like the sound of them. Sometimes they get kind of rowdy. So I'm not sure they stopped at a gas station if they're not eating again, to be honest with you, JW.
I think they're shacked up down there in some cheap motel someplace. Yeah.
Tar Heel Beekeeper on here. He's up late tonight. That's unusual.
Yeah.
Hey, Randy. How are you, buddy?
Randy's got a really cool place, and I got to go down and meet him and see him at his place. And he did some wax dip boxes for me a few weeks ago. So anybody needs to get some wax dip boxes done, Randy's the man. So
I'll bet. Yeah. Always
Cut
have
them up.
those.
I just wax dipped all another 51 faces yesterday. That's what I did. What I was doing yesterday evening about this time.
You adding more colonies than JW?
Sir?
I said you added more colonies since you're wax dipping boxes?
Not intentionally, but yes, I am.
Yeah, Roy, you're right. Tom and Melissa are probably having, let's see what he says, sushi.
Gas station sushi.
Yeah.
Probably.
Good old bologna sandwich be good enough for me.
I like bologna. A little squirt of mustard on it.
I about got all my popcorn gone, folks.
Yeah. This is a good question. Do the indoor
Oh,
bees
they get tired
expand
of
in the winter, or do they shrink like outdoor bees? I will say the 2 years I had them during the winter, they got to the smallest ball of bees I think I've seen. And I really think because they eat their resources up a little quicker. And even though it's warmer in the house and it's keeping them warm, but they just shrink down to, I mean, gosh, that one last year went down to about a baseball. So
You're surely not feeling too bad, Melissa, if you're able to go out or go out on wakeboarding.
yeah, that knocked them stones, kitty stones on down. Wakeboarding.
Yeah, let's loosen them up.
Yep, loosen them bad boys up.
She needs to get back in full swing of things, you know. I hope they come out. They're supposed to come out to my place next weekend. I'm gonna put her to work big time.
Uh-oh. You ain't gonna let her sit on her bench, JW? Poor Tom will have to do all the work again, I tell you.
Stand up, be counted. I'm gonna tell you what, Melissa does a better job than what Tom does when they go through the hive. She'll write down what she's seen and all that. Heck, he just goes through there flipping and flopping, and you have to guess what he's done when he leaves.
He's just there for his own enjoyment.
He's like a kid in a candy store. What's in this box? What's in this box? What's in this box? Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, have him chase some of them coons.
Oh, you'll be all right, Melissa. You just as what is it they say out in you're gonna have to cowboy up. Yeah, that's what I'll do, Clay. I'll get her in there and Or do a little coon wrangling for me.
Yeah. You know, probably all that food Melissa's eating is what's causing those kidney stones. Wouldn't you say that, JW?
That's all them cokes and all that junk food. That's what causes kidney stones. I'll tell you.
Calcium, isn't it? I don't know where.
Yeah, some kind of calcium buildup.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about the truth. You didn't do a very good job of stealing, because I've got a bunch of unmarked ones. I know that. I mean, I've got some really pretty big old root beer queens. I don't know where they come from, because most of my stuff's jet black. So I think he imported some brand X stuff into my hive. That's what I think he done. And they were out here. I think he sabotaged my clean side girls from some of them old dirty side girls
Joey.
over here.
Hey, Joey.
He probably put some of them Russian bees in your colonies and took your good queens out.
I don't know. Root beers, what I'm finding. That's them Italian babies, most of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of funny because I had the same kind of issue with one of mine. The one I killed was kind of an Italian looking, but the one that they replaced it with is a kind of a tiger stripe root beer one.
Yeah, that'll happen too. They're just mutts anyway. There's no.
Oh yeah.
They're just like a cheap woman. There's no. They'll have it cross up with anything. Depends on what them DCA bees and
Yeah, I
drones.
like those. I like those root beer colored ones.
Yeah, they're easy to find. That's what I like about them.
I don't know though. Some of my
got
tiger
like-
stripe ones are hard, but
Most of my hives, you get a bunch of them dark queens in a heavily populated hive. They could be a sucker for an old man to find.
Especially if a box that's got a lot of drones in it.
Mm-hmm. You know, speaking of drones, I guess it's because I don't know why. Does anybody besides me notice that you have the majority of my drones that I see in my hives are in the honey supers? Have you guys?
Yeah, I have noticed that. You're right.
Anybody ever noticed that?
the majority of the ones I see are on the outside frame, all the way against the wall.
Well, that's where more of the honey and pollen's at during that area. That
Yeah,
is true.
it is usually honey out there too.
Yeah.
I just thought it was that the worker bees had them chased over there. That's all I was thinking.
It's an interesting thought. Anybody else got a thought on that?
Most of mine, now I'm going to tell you, most of mine's got quitties scooters on them, or have had for the last at least 20 days, and then when I pop those up, I don't know. Some of the supers that I had on, I raised up and put queen excluders. Some of them drones may have hatched out in there and can't. You understand?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If they're above the queen excluder, they had to hatch out up there unless you have unless you have a gap in your
But I've found lots of drones in my honey supers. Now they're not all excluded, but
all I've noticed is whenever I have some eggs or something or drones in my honey super, and I'll leave a little gap at the top, or I'll put the little escape up there. Those drones will still be dead trying to fight through the queen excluder, even though they got another way out. They just always want to go back down for some reason.
Yeah. I haven't noticed a lot of them in my excluders this year. But I've seen like an exceptionally a lot of drones in my honey supers for some reason.
I did mess a colony up one time. She laid a lot of drone cone right in where the medium was at, and I put my queen excluder in and put my medium and put a couple more mediums above that, and come back about, I think it was 3 weeks later, and all those drones were dead, and that colony had swarmed out, and they never came up in the top of the box because it was covered with bees. And man, you talk about a smell. That was a big mistake.
Oh yeah, if you get a lot of them, they'll clog that queen excluder.
Yes, they will, no doubt. Well, folks, we're going to call it there for the night, and appreciate everybody being with us. And know I was a little bit everywhere, and it was nice having JW and Philip with us tonight, since Tom and Melissa are eating somewheres, of course, and couldn't be with us. But hopefully JW gets his coon problem underhand by the next chat. And folks, we'll see you next Thursday, and God bless.
Good night, everybody.
Not y'all.